The winds of the Andromeda frontier whipped across the jagged cliffs of Arvin Prime, carrying a cold bite that cut through even the thickest layers of clothing. Human outposts were rare in this part of space, and most of them were built more for function than comfort. Towers of steel rose from the rocky plains, their lights flickering against the twilight of the twin suns. Despite the harshness, humans had made this place a home, a foothold where their curiosity and resilience met the unknown. Dr. Elias Grant had spent most of his life in such places. He was a man of quiet determination, with eyes that missed nothing and hands that had saved countless lives across the stars. Tonight, as he walked the main corridor of Outpost Epsilon 7, his mind was on routine maintenance logs, but the peace of the evening was shattered by the blaring alarm from the landing bay. "Unidentified vessel approaching at high speed," the automated voice said. Elias' brow furrowed. Traffic in this sector was usually monitored hours in advance. Whoever was coming had ignored all protocols. Within minutes, the landing bay doors parted, revealing a ship that defied immediate classification. Its curves were elegant, almost regal, and its hull shimmered with a soft, iridescent glow. The humans gathered cautiously, scanning for weapons or signs of hostility. Then the ramp descended and she stepped out. The alien princess was unlike anything Elias had ever seen. Lyra of the Zelfar was tall and graceful, with skin that shimmered in hues of deep violet and silver. Her eyes were large, almond-shaped, and held a desperate intelligence that cut through the distance between species. Her presence commanded attention, yet there was no arrogance in her stance, only fear and urgency. She knelt. The humans froze. In all the records of interstellar contact, no royal figure had ever humbled herself so publicly before a human. And yet Lyra's posture radiated urgency and sincerity. She spoke, her voice melodic yet tinged with panic, a universal translator attempting to capture the nuances of her language. "My child," she said, her tone breaking slightly, "is dying. No medicine, no technology of my people can save them. I beg you, please help." "Yes," she said, her hands trembling slightly as she pushed a small, luminescent capsule forward. Inside was a tiny, fragile form, a child not more than a year old by human standards, its breathing shallow, its skin flickering between colors in a way that made Elias' stomach tighten. One of the outpost guards whispered, "Should we intervene? We don't know what they might be capable of." He had seen many critical cases in his career, but this was beyond anything human or alien medicine had ever faced. Lyra's voice broke through his thoughts. "My people cannot save them. They will die in hours if something is not done." Her eyes, wide and pleading, met his. Elias felt a pang of empathy. He had seen fear before, but the fear of a parent for their child. It transcended species, culture, or politics. He nodded slowly. "We'll do what we can, but I need complete access. Every instrument, every procedure, every method we can try." Scientists and medics, human and robotic assistants alike, worked in synchronized chaos, examining the child from every angle. Despite the advanced technology available, traditional approaches failed. The child's body reacted unpredictably, rejecting standard medications and responding poorly to even the simplest interventions. Elias moved from station to station, issuing instructions, reviewing scans, and improvising solutions. Human intuition became the guiding principle here, rather than rigid protocol. He instructed his team to observe, hypothesize, and experiment, all within the narrow window of time they had before the child's condition worsened. Outside the outpost, tension grew. Other alien factions, alerted by Lyra's departure from her home system, observed the human settlement with suspicion and curiosity. Some saw opportunity in weakness. Some saw a potential threat in humanity's intervention. The political stakes were rising, though Elias and his team remained focused on a singular goal, keeping the child alive. Hours passed like moments in the high-intensity environment of the medical bay. The child's vital signs fluctuated, climbing briefly, then plunging again. Every small improvement was celebrated, every setback analyzed. Lyra remained by the side of the cradle, her posture weary but unwavering. She spoke rarely, but when she did, her words carried insight that no machine could offer. She described her child's behavior, preferences, and subtle symptoms, details that were crucial to human understanding. At one point, Elias realized that the solution would not come from medicine alone. It would come from ingenuity, from seeing connections others missed, from the human ability to improvise under pressure. He gathered his team. "We need to think differently," he said. We have to combine our knowledge of human biology with what we know of Zelfar physiology. The usual methods aren't enough. We need to adapt, not replicate. It was risky, untested, and required precise timing, but there was no alternative. Lyra watched, her hands folded, observing human collaboration in action. She had traveled across galaxies, but she had never seen anything like this. A species using not just technology, but moral courage and intellect to face a challenge that could have been insurmountable. As the prototype activated, lights and instruments hummed. The child's readings flickered, then slowly stabilized. A collective sigh of relief swept through the bay, but Elias knew this was only the first step. The child's recovery would be gradual, and the risks were far from over. Outside, the alien observers murmured among themselves. They had anticipated either failure or a mercenary transaction. What they did not expect was humanity's combination of empathy, courage, and creativity. Slowly, the notion began to spread. Humans were more than just another species. They were problem solvers, thinkers, and moral agents in a galaxy that often valued strength over virtue. Lyra finally spoke, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "You have given my child a chance at life. For that, I am in your debt." She rose slightly, her posture still humble, but there was pride now in her eyes. Pride not for herself, but for the species that had answered her plea without hesitation or self-interest. Elias met her gaze. "We didn't do it for debt, Princess. We did it because it was the right thing to do." And in that quiet triumph, a story began. A story of a species that refused to be defined by fear, a species that could face the unknown with ingenuity and heart. Humanity had answered, and the galaxy would not forget. The hum of machinery filled the medical bay as Dr. Elias Grant and his team worked tirelessly. The child's vitals had stabilized for the first time since arriving at Outpost Epsilon 7, but stability was fragile. Every breath, every flicker of the monitors reminded Elias that failure was only a heartbeat away. Lyra remained by the cradle, her gaze fixed on her child. The relief in her eyes was tempered by fear. In her culture, weakness was dangerous. For a princess to appear powerless was nearly unthinkable. Yet here she was, completely at the mercy of humans, and she had no choice. Her child's life depended entirely on their ingenuity. Elias moved among the workstations, instructing his team to prepare for the next phase. The initial stabilization was only a temporary measure. The child needed more than human or Zelfar medicine could offer alone. It required something new, something no one had tried before. "Listen carefully," Elias said, addressing the team. "We've learned enough from the initial scans. The child's physiology is responsive to adaptive stimuli, but traditional medical protocols are ineffective. We need a combination of human intuition and creative application." Some saw an opportunity to challenge humanity's growing reputation, while others simply wanted to understand this species that dared to defy expectations. Patrol ships appeared on the fringes of Arvin Prime, scanning the atmosphere, their intent unclear. Elias was aware of them but remained focused. "Let them watch," he said quietly. "They will learn what we already know. Humans do not back down from impossible problems." Lyra leaned forward, her hands brushing against the side of the cradle. "My people tried this before," she said softly. "We attempted to stabilize them with every technology we had. Nothing worked. You humans, you may succeed where we failed." Her words were filled with both hope and fear. Elias gave her a reassuring nod. "We'll do everything we can, but we need to work together. Your knowledge of Zelfar biology is as important as our techniques. Tell us what you know." As the procedure continued, the child's vitals fluctuated unpredictably. One moment readings improved, the next they plummeted. The team's nerves were tested. Every decision was critical. Elias moved closer, examining the latest data. "We need to stabilize their neural response. If we can regulate that, the body will follow." He gestured to the prototype device. "Increase the environmental resonance frequency by 10%. Monitor their reaction closely." Slowly, the child's vitals began to respond. The fluctuations became less severe, the readings steadier. The team exchanged glances, a mix of relief and determination passing among them. Lyra's eyes filled with tears. You are doing it. You are saving them." "But yes, we are making progress." Back inside the bay, the next challenge emerged. The child's body began to exhibit signs of rejection against the synthetic environment. Skin flickered with unnatural colors, and subtle convulsions rippled through their small form. "Prepare for manual intervention," Elias ordered. We need to stabilize them physically while we adjust the parameters. Fatigue threatened to slow their movements, but the urgency of the child's condition kept them focused. Elias refused to allow exhaustion to compromise their work. He moved among his team, offering encouragement, adjusting strategies, and ensuring that no detail was overlooked. Finally, a breakthrough occurred. The child responded positively to a combination of adaptive biosynthesis and environmental modulation, their vitals stabilizing in a way they had not before. The team held their breath as the readings leveled, the fluctuations slowing, the color stabilizing. Lyra whispered almost to herself, They are responding. They are alive. We've reached the first milestone, but the recovery is delicate. We need constant monitoring and continued adaptation. You have been as much a part of this solution as any of us. Elias felt a surge of pride, not personal pride, but pride in what his species had achieved. Meanwhile, the outpost received a communication from one of the observing alien factions. The message was cautious but intrigued, noting humanity's capability and moral approach. Elias knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy would soon take notice of humans not as warriors or conquerors, but as innovators and problem solvers, species capable of facing challenges with intellect, empathy, and courage. As night fell over Arvin Prime, the twin suns disappearing behind jagged cliffs, Elias walked past the cradle. The child slept peacefully now, stabilized for the moment. Lyra sat nearby, her hands resting gently on the edge of the cradle, watching over her child with a mix of awe and gratitude. Elias spoke softly. We have made progress, but the real test is still ahead. We must ensure they recover fully and that no unforeseen complication arises. I have no choice but to trust humanity. The hours passed slowly, each one a test of patience, skill, and determination. The team continued their work, fine-tuning the environment, monitoring the child's responses, and preparing for the eventual recovery. Every adjustment required careful observation, and every improvement was a victory that reminded them why they had chosen this path. By the second day, the child's condition showed significant improvement. Fluctuations were minimal, color had stabilized, and breathing was steady. The outpost had become a center of quiet triumph, a place where human ingenuity and alien knowledge combined to achieve the seemingly impossible. Lyra finally allowed herself a small smile. You have given my child a second chance. I cannot thank you enough. They had demonstrated not only skill, but also the ability to make ethical choices in complex, high-stakes situations, a combination that few species could match. As the twin suns rose once more over Arvin Prime, casting light over the jagged cliffs and the human outpost, Elias and his team prepared for the next phase, full recovery. The child's survival was no longer a question of possibility, but of careful, continuous effort. Humanity had answered a desperate plea, and in doing so had begun to establish a legacy that would resonate far beyond this isolated outpost. In the quiet moments, Lyra leaned close to Elias. Your people, they are unlike any I have known. You fight not for glory, not for power, but for life itself. I will remember this. And in the halls of Outpost Epsilon 7, humans continued their work, solving problems, defying expectations, and proving that courage, ingenuity, and morality were the true measure of a species. The air inside Outpost Epsilon 7 was tense but electric with purpose. The child's condition had improved dramatically since the initial stabilization, yet every member of the team knew that the real challenge was just beginning. Their work had bought time, but it had not yet solved the underlying problem. Dr. Elias Grant moved among the instruments and consoles, his mind racing through calculations, possible scenarios, and the unknown variables of Zelfar biology. The child slept fitfully, a thin rhythm of breath rising and falling with subtle, irregular fluctuations. Elias could see the strain on Lyra's face, the worry she tried to hide behind regal composure. Despite her status, the princess was exhausted, physically and emotionally, from the journey and the stakes she had placed on human intervention. We've bought time, Elias said to his team, his voice calm but firm. Now we need to understand why the child's body reacts the way it does. Every change, every flicker in the readings tells us something. Observe closely, think carefully, we cannot afford mistakes. They were working with a species whose physiology defied easy classification. Human knowledge could only go so far. The rest depended on intuition, careful experimentation, and the willingness to act when information was incomplete. Lyra moved closer to Elias, her voice low and urgent. There are patterns in their reactions that may not be obvious. In my people, early symptoms can appear as changes in skin pigmentation, subtle muscular twitches, or breathing inconsistencies that humans might not notice. You must pay attention to these details. Together, we can find the solution. As the hours passed, the child began showing signs of improvement beyond what the initial stabilization had achieved. Color returned to the skin, breathing became more rhythmic, and small movements indicated increasing strength. Yet Elias knew that progress was fragile. A sudden alert drew his attention, a fluctuation in neural activity. The child's brain waves spiked unpredictably, sending the monitors into a frenzy of readings. Elias frowned. "This is the critical stage," he said, addressing the team. "The nervous system is adjusting to the new environment. We need to synchronize the biosynthetic protocols with the neural patterns. If we succeed, recovery accelerates. If we fail, well, we cannot fail." Outside the outpost, tension was rising in the surrounding space. The rival factions that had observed the arrival of the princess and the human response began communicating more openly. Some saw the humans as a potential threat. Others were curious about this species that defied expectations. Small reconnaissance ships lingered at the edges of Arvin Prime, their sensors trained on the outpost. Elias was aware of them, but his focus remained on the child. He knew that any external threat would require strategic thinking and calm coordination, but right now, the survival of a single life demanded absolute attention. Hours passed in a blur of activity. The child's condition fluctuated in ways that were sometimes alarming, sometimes encouraging. Elias noticed a pattern emerging. Subtle environmental shifts caused changes in neural activity, which in turn influenced vital signs. He realized that the solution lay in understanding and synchronizing these feedback loops. "Adjust the resonance by 5% increments," he instructed, "and monitor the child's response. Look for even the smallest changes." This is where human intuition matters more than technology. Despite cultural differences and centuries of separation between species, the bond of parent and child transcended all. As the adjustments were made, a breakthrough occurred. The child's readings began to stabilize, showing a consistent pattern of improvement. Breathing became steady, color normalized, and movement became more coordinated. The team held their breath, watching for any sign of regression. Elias allowed himself a small smile. "We're seeing real progress. Keep monitoring and fine-tuning. Do not relax until we are certain the child is fully stable." We act because it is necessary, not for praise. Humanity measures strength not only in action, but in the courage to act rightly when it matters most. The child's body was still fragile, and any misstep could reverse the progress they had fought so hard to achieve. Later, as the outpost settled into a rhythm of careful observation, a new challenge arose. A sudden spike in readings indicated that the child's immune system was reacting unpredictably. Elias realized that the human-Zelfar hybrid approach they had devised was triggering responses that neither species had experienced before. "Prepare for manual intervention," he ordered. "We need to stabilize the immune response while maintaining the environmental support. This will require precise coordination." Instruments were adjusted, sensors recalibrated, and the child's body monitored with meticulous attention. Lyra assisted where she could, her hands steady despite the anxiety she felt for her child. The intervention worked, but it was exhausting. Hours of intense focus and delicate adjustments left the team drained, yet they pressed on. Every improvement, no matter how small, reinforced their determination. During a brief moment of rest, Lyra spoke quietly to Elias. "I have traveled across the galaxy and seen many things, but I have never encountered a species capable of such dedication. You do not act for reward or fear. You act because it is right." Humanity thrives not by taking what is easy, but by facing the impossible and finding solutions that others cannot. We do not always succeed, but we always try. The message from their scanners was clear. The galaxy was watching, and humanity's actions would not go unnoticed. Elias remained calm. "Let them observe. Let them see what humans are capable of. We are not defined by aggression or conquest, but by courage, intelligence, and compassion." Every adjustment, every observation, and every intervention was a testament to their skill and determination. Humanity's approach to the impossible was being demonstrated in real time: ethical decision-making, rapid problem-solving, and unyielding perseverance. As the hours passed, the child's condition continued to improve. The body responded to the carefully calibrated environment, and neural activity began to normalize. The breakthrough was no longer tentative, it was sustained. Elias allowed himself to feel a quiet pride, not personal pride, but pride in what his species had achieved. Lyra watched her child with tears in her eyes, whispering words of gratitude and hope. "You have given them a life, and in doing so, you have shown me a new understanding of your people. I will carry this knowledge back to my world." Outside, the alien ships lingered, their crews observing the remarkable scene within the human settlement. Inside, humans and Zelfar alike had witnessed something extraordinary, a species that combined intelligence, morality, and courage to overcome a challenge that no one else could. In the quiet aftermath, Elias walked past the cradle, checking the monitors and adjusting parameters as needed. The child slept peacefully now, their vitals steady and growing stronger by the hour. Lyra rested nearby, exhausted but serene, knowing that her child's survival was no longer in doubt. The events of the past days had revealed more than medical breakthroughs. They had revealed the essence of humanity. Resourcefulness, ingenuity, empathy, and courage. These were qualities that could not be measured by technology or rank, yet they defined a species capable of facing the universe's most impossible challenges. Elias felt the weight of responsibility and the satisfaction of progress. Humanity had answered a desperate plea, and in doing so they had begun to shape their place in the galaxy, not through conquest, but through action, thought, and heart. As night fell once more over Arvin Prime, the twin suns gone below the horizon, the outpost settled into a rhythm of watchful calm. Humanity had proven itself capable of extraordinary deeds, and the galaxy, though not yet fully aware, would soon recognize it. Lyra leaned close to the cradle, whispering to her child, "You are alive because of them. Remember this day, and know that your life is a testament to the courage of humanity." He knew that the days ahead would bring further challenges, but for the first time he felt a sense of certainty. Humanity's greatest strength lay not in what they could destroy, but in what they could save. The story was far from over, yet one truth had already become clear. In the face of impossible odds, humans had risen to the occasion. They had faced a problem that defied expectation, that no other species could solve, and they had done so with intelligence, courage, and morality. And in that quiet victory, a new reputation began to take shape, a reputation that would echo across the stars and redefine the place of humanity in the galaxy. The calm that had settled over Outpost Epsilon 7 was fragile. The child's condition had improved steadily, but Elias knew that stability in medicine was only one battle. The galaxy was watching, and not everyone viewed human intervention with goodwill. Rival alien factions that had observed the princess's plea were beginning to take action, sensing both opportunity and threat. The alert system buzzed, and Elias turned to the main console. The scanners had picked up several ships approaching at high speed from the outer rim of Arvin Prime. They were heavily armed, their intent ambiguous but unmistakably focused on the outpost. "Everyone to stations," Elias ordered. "This could be a reconnaissance run or worse. We need to be ready for anything, but our priority remains the child. We act out of necessity and morality. We do not give in to threats. We protect life above all else, and this outpost will not surrender. Prepare defensive protocols, but do not engage unless provoked. Focus remains on the child." Lyra watched over her child with quiet determination, occasionally whispering subtle commands to the human team based on her intimate knowledge of Zelfar physiology. Despite the tension outside, the collaboration inside the bay was seamless. Human ingenuity and Zelfar insight merged to fine-tune the environment, adjusting nutrient cycles, resonance frequencies, and neural stimulations. Each adjustment required split-second timing and precise calculation, but the team was undeterred. Hours passed, and the approaching ships maintained formation at the edge of the planet's atmosphere. Elias realized that the factions were testing both the humans' resolve and the outpost's defensive capabilities. A confrontation could erupt at any moment, and the stakes were higher than ever. He gathered his senior team members for a quick briefing. "Listen carefully," he said. "Our primary mission is life preservation. The child comes first. If conflict arises, we must act strategically. Use technology defensively, not aggressively, and maintain the moral high ground. Humanity's strength lies not in weapons, but in intelligence and ethics. They underestimate you at their peril." Inside the medical bay, the child stirred slightly, responding to subtle adjustments in the environment. Their color deepened, breathing remained stable, and small movements indicated growing strength. This was a critical sign. Any disruption outside could threaten this delicate equilibrium, yet the team remained focused, adapting to each new variable as it arose. Hours stretched into a tense night. The alien ships continued their maneuvers, attempting to gauge the humans' response. Elia's coordinated communication and defense, ensuring that every team member understood their role. He knew that an attack was unlikely without provocation, but caution was essential. Meanwhile, the outpost's AI had begun compiling predictive models based on human decision-making patterns. It calculated that humans were more likely to prioritize ethical action over aggression, but it also noted that humans adapted quickly to evolving threats. This combination, strategic foresight and moral conviction, made them unpredictable and formidable. Lyra observed quietly, her expression one of awe. "Your species, you think, you adapt and you care. That is rare in the galaxy. I have never seen such resolve." By dawn, the approaching factions appeared to have recognized the humans' steadfastness. Some ships began retreating, while others lingered, reassessing their assumptions. Humanity's reputation, earned through courage and ethical action, was beginning to ripple through the sector. Inside the outpost, the child's condition continued to improve. The team implemented advanced synchronization protocols, integrating human bioengineering techniques with Zelfar medical insights. Vital signs stabilized further, neural activity normalized, and the child began to exhibit responsive behavior to environmental stimuli. Lyra allowed herself to relax for the first time since arriving. "They are stronger than I imagined," she whispered, watching her child. "And your species, you are extraordinary." They had expected humans to either surrender or act aggressively, yet neither occurred. Humanity's combination of intelligence, courage, and moral clarity created a new paradigm, one in which life preservation and ethical decision-making were recognized as formidable forms of strength. By midday, the immediate threat had lessened. The rival factions had retreated to distant orbits, continuing to observe from afar but no longer acting directly against the outpost. Elias knew this was only a temporary reprieve. The galaxy was vast, and interest in humanity's actions would only grow. Inside the bay, the focus remained on the child. Recovery was ongoing, and careful monitoring continued. Every intervention, every adjustment was measured against both immediate and long-term outcomes. The child's movements became more coordinated, responses more consistent, and color and breathing normalized further. Lyra, though weary, stayed close. Her hands rested lightly on the cradle, her eyes following every subtle change. She whispered encouragements, her voice a mixture of hope and gratitude. "You are alive because of them. My child, you are alive because of humans." As evening approached, Elias reflected on the events of the past days. Humanity had faced a situation that no other species could have managed with equal success. They had prioritized life over politics, ethics over fear, and ingenuity over brute force. In doing so, they had not only saved a life, but demonstrated a form of strength that resonated far beyond the walls of the outpost. Lyra turned to him, her voice soft but firm. "The galaxy will remember this. Your species will be known not for conquest, but for courage, intelligence, and morality. You have set a standard that others will have to meet." The twin suns disappeared behind jagged cliffs, casting long shadows across the rocky terrain. Inside the outpost, humans and aliens alike continued their watch, ensuring that the child remained stable and safe. Outside, the galaxy had taken notice, observing a species capable of facing the impossible with courage, intellect, and compassion. In the quiet moments, Elias allowed himself to feel a sense of pride, not personal pride, but pride in what humanity had accomplished. They had faced a situation that challenged every limit of knowledge, skill, and courage, and they had prevailed. They had not acted out of fear or ambition, but out of the simplest yet most powerful human instinct, the desire to preserve life and act rightly. Lyra leaned close to her child, whispering words of gratitude. "You are alive because of them. Remember this day, and know that your life is a testament to the courage of humanity." Their actions, driven by intelligence, ethics, and determination, had set them apart. The story of their courage and ingenuity would ripple across star systems, reshaping perceptions and establishing a legacy that no weapon or empire could achieve. The child slept peacefully, growing stronger with every passing hour. The alien princess, exhausted but relieved, allowed herself a moment of serenity. And humanity, steadfast in the face of uncertainty and danger, had proven once more that their greatest strength lay not in power or domination, but in courage, creativity, and moral clarity. As the night deepened, the outpost hummed with quiet activity. Humans monitored, adjusted, and cared, embodying the qualities that defined their species. The galaxy had witnessed a new standard of excellence, one that combined intellect, bravery, and ethical action. And in this standard, humanity's place among the stars was secured, not through conquest, but through deeds worthy of admiration and respect. The first light of the twin suns spilled across the cliffs of Arvin Prime, painting the rocky landscape in shades of gold and purple. Inside Outpost Epsilon 7, the atmosphere was one of cautious relief. For days, humans had worked tirelessly, combining intellect, ingenuity, and empathy to stabilize and save the child of Princess Lyra of the Zelfar. Now, after countless adjustments, sleepless hours, and tests of nerve and skill, the child's vitals had normalized. Dr. Elias Grant walked through the medical bay, checking monitors, scanning instruments, and observing the child's every movement. The small being stirred, blinking at the light with growing awareness, its breathing steady and rhythmic. There was a strength in the child now, a resilience that had not existed when it had first arrived. Elias allowed himself a small smile, though he kept his focus. This was the culmination of days of innovation, teamwork, and unwavering dedication. Lyra sat nearby, her hands lightly brushing the side of the cradle. Her eyes, once filled with desperate fear, now reflected cautious hope. "You have done what no one else could," she whispered to Elias. "My child is alive because of humans." Humanity's strength is in choosing courage, intelligence, and morality over fear or convenience. Reports transmitted across the systems noted that humans were a species to be reckoned with, not through weapons or aggression, but through creativity, intelligence, and an unwavering ethical compass. Lyra rose, her form elegant and regal despite her exhaustion. She approached Elias and extended her hands in a gesture of deep respect. "The galaxy will remember this day. Humans do not seek glory, yet their deeds shine brighter than any conquest. My child is alive because of your people, and that is proof of your extraordinary nature." That is the essence of humanity. Weeks of relentless observation, precise adjustments, and careful improvisation had led to this moment. Their work had not only saved a life, but also demonstrated humanity's remarkable capacity for problem-solving, empathy, and ethical decision-making. Elias addressed the team. "This is a victory, but it is more than a medical success. We have shown that humanity can face challenges others deem impossible. Our strength lies in our courage, our intelligence, and our morality. Never forget that. I will ensure that my people remember humanity not for its weapons, not for its influence, but for its heart." Its skin color normalized fully, breathing remained steady, and it began responding to gentle stimuli, small sounds, and light touches. Each sign of improvement brought renewed hope and satisfaction to everyone in the outpost. Lyra remained at the child's side, her presence both comforting and instructive. She guided the team in subtle ways, sharing knowledge that only a parent could provide, while respecting the human methods that had saved her child. The partnership between species was remarkable, a combination of trust, insight, and collaboration that transcended cultural boundaries. Outside the outpost, the galaxy began to take note. Reports of humanity's actions spread across star systems. Diplomatic envoys, scientists, and military leaders from various factions discussed the unprecedented demonstration of ethical strength combined with ingenuity. For the first time, humans were recognized as a species whose influence could not be measured solely by power, but by their ability to face the impossible with intelligence, courage, and moral clarity. In the medical bay, Elias observed a subtle change in the child. It reached for Lyra, its small fingers grasping hers with surprising strength. Lyra's eyes filled with tears, her voice barely above a whisper. "They know they are safe because of you." Not pride for himself, but pride in humanity's capacity to rise to a challenge that had seemed insurmountable. Every choice, every calculated risk, every act of care had contributed to this moment. Humanity had answered a desperate plea with brilliance, patience, and unwavering moral resolve. The day culminated in a quiet ceremony. Lyra addressed the humans, her voice clear and steady despite the emotional weight of the past weeks. "You have saved my child when all seemed lost. You have demonstrated courage, intelligence, and morality. I will return to my people and speak of humanity's strength, not in war or conquest, but in the preservation of life and the pursuit of what is right. The galaxy will know us not by what we take, but by what we choose to protect and create. From the moment the princess had knelt before him in desperation, through the hours of improvisation and intense focus, to the ultimate triumph of life over uncertainty, humanity had demonstrated qualities that no weapon or technology could replicate. Their strength lay in intelligence, creativity, and ethical courage, the traits that would define them across the galaxy. The child now slept peacefully, growing stronger each hour, surrounded by humans and the princess who had trusted them. The outpost hummed quietly with activity, each team member attending to routine checks, knowing that their work had altered more than one life. It had shifted perceptions across star systems. Lyra leaned close to Elias. I will tell my people of this. Humans are more than allies. They are the embodiment of hope, courage, and wisdom. They had faced the impossible, combined knowledge and intuition across species, and preserved a life that seemed doomed. In doing so, they had proven a simple truth: courage, intelligence, and morality could achieve what strength alone never could. The galaxy would remember this day. Not for conflict or conquest, but for the quiet, steadfast brilliance of a species that chose to act rightly when it mattered most. Humanity had answered, and in doing so, they had earned a reputation that would echo across star systems for generations to come. Elias glanced one last time at the child, sleeping peacefully in Lyra's arms. A sense of serenity washed over him. Humanity's journey was far from over, and the universe would continue to test them. But today, they had risen to a challenge that no other species could meet, not through weapons, not through dominance, but through courage, creativity, and moral resolve. Lyra's eyes met his. Your people have shown me what true strength means. I will carry this knowledge back to my world, and the galaxy will know humanity's name for what it truly is: extraordinary. And it will be remembered, not for what we take, but for what we save, for the lives we protect, and the courage we display in moments that demand our best. But the events of these days, the triumph of life over impossible odds, would remain a lasting testament to what humans could achieve. In a small cradle under the watchful eyes of a grateful princess, a child slept soundly. Around them, humans worked and observed, calm, capable, and unwavering. In that moment, the universe had witnessed humanity at its finest, not in conquest, but in action, thought, and heart. And that was the legacy that would endure.